What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hoop Portal. Duke has just beat Texas 75-60 in the Dick Vitale Classic in Charlotte tonight. And I would say Duke has what I call a potential problem at the 5 position. The first half of the game saw Texas take the physical battle to Duke. Early on, they were pushing Duke further and further away from the basket, giving Duke troubles trying to run their sets. In the middle of this span, though, to begin in the first half, Duke went on a 15-2 flurry, sparked by Isaiah Evans. And it's amazing what making some shots opens up the entire basketball court for everybody else. The driving lanes open up, the backdoor cuts open up, killing if Texas is trying to be super aggressive, they're able to backdoor cut and get layups. Evans got a couple, and Ngagba got a couple. Malik Brown had an incredible pass from the baseline, spraying out to the corner. And at that point, you saw the type of firepower that Duke is capable and the runs that they're able to go on. What hurt them in that first half that allowed Texas to get back into the game and actually go into halftime with a 1 point lead was simply losing the rebounding battle and the free throw battle. Texas out rebounded them by 10, and I think 11 of those 25 rebounds in the first half for Texas were offensive rebounds. And we've said it as a player, as a coach, all these different things. When you give teams second, third, fourth, fifth opportunities to get at you, it puts your players in foul trouble. Duke had 2 guys foul out tonight, both of their quote unquote bigs. When you give teams multiple chances, their percentage goes up on field goals versus shot 1, shot 2, shot 3. And you're almost like in a fight where you're taking punch after punch, blow after blow, and eventually bad things happen, right? Teams don't give up 3 offensive rebounds in one possession and then come away usually with the ball, no fouls, no points given up, no issues. And it was silly mistake. Like Foster getting a foul 94 feet away from the basket. I think the game was 32-30 at that point, or 32-29. And it turns into a foul on him and 2 free throws for Texas, and they make both of them. And the second half, credit to Duke, they did it again. We saw it in the exhibition game with Tennessee. The second half was a completely different story. The adjustments made by Shire, the adjustments made by the team, and besides Texas having this 2-3 minute stretch where they just made difficult shot after difficult shot, Duke was basically in sole possession of the lead in that entire second half once they got it. They started on a 10-0 run. Texas finally broke that. But what you saw out of Shire in the group was that immediately into the second half, they draw up a play for Boozer. Get him going. He had 0 points in the first half, which also contributes to being down 1 when your best player or most highest draft pick player out of this team, because I think Isaiah Evans is going to have a case for who's really the best college player this season. But when your most prolific freshman on this team has 0 points in the first half, it's going to take a toll and you're not going to be playing as well. So it's not super complicated. He finished the game with 15 points. Obviously, all 15 came in the second half. He was living at the free throw line. I think at one point he had 8 points and had only made 1 field goal in the second half. So they completely flipped the script on the rebounding battle and the free throws. And they ended up winning the battle after being down 10 they won the battle by 6 in the second half, ended up being out rebounded still by 4, but won it by 6 in the second half, and ended the game shooting 30 free throws to Texas's 23, which again basically doubled them up in that second half. The point though that I want to get to with Duke, and we brought it up in the Tennessee game, is what is their plan when it comes to depth at the center position. I think they've missed the mark on this and being able to bring in 2 or 3 guys to total just to have 2 to 3 guys in that position. I like Patrick Ngangba a lot. He's grown a lot from last year. You can see it in his body. You can see it even just mentally in the first game, an exhibition game now. And you have Malik Brown, who's probably the most versatile defender, positions 1 through 5 in college basketball. But you even saw tonight when Ngangba went out with that 4th foul around the 7-minute mark. Malik Brown ended up getting his 4th foul around the 6-minute mark because they weren't able to aggressively deal with the size of Texas. Now, they did a lot better job on the rebounding end. They did a lot better job attacking Texas and getting their players in foul trouble as well. Duke was in the bonus, I think, at the 10-minute mark of the second half. And so when you flip the script and you see the offensive firepower that they have, you can make do in a lot of those situations where maybe when they play a Purdue, maybe when they play Florida in a couple weeks, those bigs could give Duke a ton of fits. And it's going to be really heavily on the guards to be able to defend, contain their man, and not put their bigs in even worse situations besides having to guard somebody bigger than them. And Duke went with a lineup when both Brown and Ngangba had fouled out. Duke went with a lineup with the final 3 minutes of the game, which was Foster, Evans, Kaminia, Sarr and Boozer. And I really like Sarr, but I think most of us would agree he's not a legit post player yet, right? He just doesn't seem to have enough bricks in the back pocket, as we'd say. And Boozer's got it, but he's still not a true solid big. He's not a common Malawatch. And I get two very different players, two both very good. But again, Duke, off of last year's group, had those guys inside. They had the depth, and you saw that they weren't going to lose those rebounding battles. They were going to be ultra aggressive. They were going to get layups and shots at the rim and get out in transition because their bigs could not only defend at the rim, they could rebound, but also get out. And so it's tough for Duke because what happens is the first few games of the next season, you're going to be compared to last year's group. It happened in 2019, 2020, whatever year that was, when Zion, RJ, and Cam left. But that Duke group ended up being really strong towards the end of the year and really fun to watch, even though they weren't as good as the 2019 group. Still had the talent, still had the ability, still led by a great point guard in Trey Jones. And so you see it now again with this group. They're going to be compared to last year, and they're clearly not as good as last year's team. Fortunately for them, you don't need to be. You need to be the best team this year. So I think Duke will be fine. Offensively, that five that they ended with, you even with Malik Brown and Ngogba, both of them, all that whole group can do it. That group of seven can do it. Play five out offensively. They pose so many problems for teams on the offensive side with those groups. Those seven guys, basically in any rotation. It's going to be on the defensive end. Can you rebound as a gang, right? Basically, gang rebound, guards get involved too. That can help offset some of your bigs and keep them out of foul trouble. You can't give teams multiple punches at you. And it's going to be really interesting when Duke takes on Texas Tech and how they deal with a guy like JT Toppin, when they take on Florida at Cameron and they're dealing with Condon and Howe, and maybe they meet Purdue in a Final Four or something like that down the road. But I'd like to know what you guys think. Is that the lineup you want to see Duke go with if Brown and Ngongba are in foul trouble or have fouled out? I think they'll be fine through most of the ACC. I think there's a couple teams that could give them trouble. I think their problem is potentially going to come in March. But if you're Duke, that's what it's based on. You're not trying to just have 25 win seasons and win the ACC and get to Sweet 16. You're trying to go on deep runs in March. So all in all, though, they look solid. The biggest thing is seeing that second half adjustment where it's like they're not getting killed for 40 minutes doing the same knucklehead stuff. There's an adjustment period. There's waves. You see the firepower. You see the defensive ability, specifically amongst the guards and the wings. And you just need to figure out the posting. And the posting is not always a problem until it's a problem. So, all in all, though, they should have a really solid year. Their next game, they've got a couple tune-ups coming up, and then they'll play Kansas November 18th. And that should be another good one. Kansas has some size and athleticism to maybe match up. It'll be really cool to see Patterson against that group, which we're going to get to see that Friday night in Chapel Hill as well. So, all in all, good deal. If you guys like the video, please enter your name in the portal by hitting subscribe, like, share. Stay tuned with us all week. We'll keep you up to date on all the college basketball stuff. Thanks, guys.